The final concept of a brief introduction to finances is the concept of budgeting. The general feeling of people is that the budget is a constraint or something unpleasant. But in fact, the budget is only a plan that you make that is convenient for what you intend to do in the future. Why should you make a budget? It is because the budgeting is a way of planning as contrasting to not planning at all and hope that you'll have some money left over to pay major bills at the end of the year. There are three parts to the budget. The first is the plan. The second page is the actual amount you spend each period of the budget, and the third page is the variance, which shows you how you did compared to your initial plan. A balanced budget simply means that the sum of the income equals the sum of the outgoing expenses and savings, which implies that the flow of all cash has been addressed. As previously mentioned, the convention is that positive cash flows are in black and negative cash flows are in red. And also, as mentioned, a bookkeeping program can automatically do the budgets as well as the accounting. So you don't really need to know everything that I'm showing you. You just need to know what it's about.
Let's use an example of a personal budget. Instead of by months, we're going to use quarters just to make it a little bit simple. If you notice, we have two sections, the income section and a total, and an outgoing total, and then a grand total, which is simply the balance for that particular quarter. Now for the first quarter, we're going to try to put in our best estimate for each one of the various accounts. We're only going to do the first quarter first as a basis and then complete the remainder. To start, let's estimate the income salary of $37,500, spouse's salary of $10,000, and as we showed you before, let's compute the total. So the total income for the first quarter is $47,000. And as you can see, for the first quarter, we estimate mortgage expenses to be $9,600, car $4,500, school loan $6,000, credit card liability, and so on. So the total outgoing cash for the particular quarter is $36,750. Notice the grand total should be zero, because income should balance output, which means we can use this amount and save it for the future. Now, having done that, we see that the grand total for the period is zero, which means that we have a balanced budget. In other words, we have planned for all contingencies for the first quarter. Now the next thing to do is simply to copy this budget for the next three quarters. At this point, I've now copied over the same budget to each month, each quarter, and computed the totals both horizontally and vertically. And notice the grand total is zero. That means my budget is so far balanced. However, let's change a few things. Let's assume that at the end of the year, we have an extra $10,000 for taxes and other expenses related to real estate, so that for December, or rather the first quarter, the estimated outgoing is going to be $19,000. And notice the grand total now is $10,000, which is negative. We're out of budget. So let us reduce the savings by $10,000. Notice we're back in budget. Similarly, let's say that we want to go on a vacation in July, which is going to cost minus 17 because we're going to take the whole family to Disney World. So we can take that out of our savings also. Notice that our savings for the third quarter is $6,200, which is positive, which means we took the money out of the savings, gave it to ourselves, which is positive. And again, notice that we have a balanced budget. And you use the same process for each quarter until you've made your best estimate of your income and expenses for the year. The second page of the budget is the actual expenses and income. Just for convenience, I colored the dependent variables yellow so that we don't accidentally change them. Let's assume for the first quarter we decided to pay off $2,000 for the credit card. And let's say that we went for a small trip, and so that cost about $1,000. So in this case, for the quarter, we're $2,700 short. However, we have another 3 quarters to make. So as time goes on, one would complete the actual transactions in each one of the 4 quarters, and at the end of the year, you would actually see how you did compared to your original plan. And as I said before, your bookkeeping program will do this for you.
Most of this brief course is oriented toward personal finance. The reason for that is that your business is going to take care of itself, and you're going to have accountants or whatever. Also, you do not have the resources now, yet now is the time that you should really start to think about what you're going to do with your life financially. There are 2 options. 1, you can muddle through life spending what you earn and hope throughout your life that you're going to earn enough money to do what you feel like doing without thinking much about it. Alternatively, you can start thinking about it now and have some rough plans that can be defined more closely later in the future. Now is a good time to think about the phases of life that you're going to go through. The initial phase is starting a practice, starting a family, buying a house, deciding where you're going to live. You are also going to have to think about what indebtedness you may have accrued as a result of your education. The second time period to consider is when your children are starting school, then college. This is another time where you are going to be dealing with a heavy cash flow. A third period is when your kids are gone and out of college until you retire. Then you're going to have a relatively easy time of it. This would be a good time to enjoy life with a few extra dollars. Then, the retirement itself. Questions like these arise. How long are you and your spouse likely to live? What kind of health am I likely to have? What kind of inheritance do I want to leave? What's going to be the source of my retirement? Am I going to have to earn it myself, or am I going to work with the VA or the military that has a retirement fund already built in? You also have to consider potential disasters. I lost 2 years of my life because of coming down with a T-cell lymphoma. You could have an accident. A surgeon I know was broadsided and because of neck injury could no longer work. And statistics show that 1 out of 2 marriages fail in the United States, and this is even worse for physicians. Even if you hope this won't happen, it should be kept in your mind as a what if, so this risk is extremely high and should be considered. Let's briefly talk about insurance. And insurance is a bet. You are betting that you are not going to die before the age of 65. You are betting that you are not going to have a car accident. You are betting that your house is not going to burn down, or in Shreveport that your house won't be flooded. In general, the more you pay in premium, the more you're going to get paid in the event that the pet pays. Decisions like these can be quite complicated, which is why you can benefit from a financial advisor. In most cases, you need not make any decisions now. However, the sooner you make them, the better off you're going to be in the future. So what you will have to do now is to start thinking about the decisions you're going to have to make. And secondly, begin saving some part of your income now, because as I mentioned, $1 saved now gives you $17 at retirement. Having money in savings is important in the event of a cash flow problem. For example, several years ago, Medicare paid nothing for almost 2.5 months while they revised their system, which impacted on the office practice tremendously. It would also help to have money in the bank to pay for the down payment of a new house. Start now. It takes only a small amount of time and some general thinking about your future. Thinking about it when you are 55 is too late. Lots of luck. Have a nice life.